I'm Stephen, USSR Robinson, and you're watching Sport Icons. Papa!
Right, so the reason that I'm making this video is to nip it before some of the fanatical superfans of Deontay Wilder. Of course, we're talking about the uploaders and the trolls online, the Wildettes, the twerk army, as I like to call them. They will soon be making more conspiracies about why Tyson Fury beat Deontay Wilder for a third time, and it's probably going to be around the gloves, etc, etc, etc. So we're going to talk about that in this video with something that's very, very important, which happened in the Wilder Fury 3 fight. So if you are new to this channel, well done, you found us. Click that subscribe button, you've just hit the lottery. Now, some of you may have noticed, the majority of you would not have noticed. Not everybody looks at what fighters wear, what gloves and whatever else. But something that was very important that happened yesterday in the Fury Wilder 3 fight is that Tyson Fury, he wore the Pattern Sport gloves, much like he did in the second fight. In the first fight, he wore Everlast MX gloves. Deontay Wilder in this third fight also wore Everlast MX gloves. Okay, now it's not unusual for Deontay Wilder to wear Everlast gloves. Of course, he's sponsored by Everlast. Okay, but for me, the reason why he wore these Everlast MX gloves was to say, well, my gloves didn't distort, my gloves weren't flopping around, and he'd be pointing back to the first fight. Now, I know a lot of people get the first fight and the second fight confused. Why? Because Tyson Fury was wearing green gloves. Okay, for some reason they can't tell the difference, even though the tape around the wrist are totally different colours, right? I'm colourblind, but I can see that they're different colours, right? But with Everlast MX gloves, what are they? Okay, they're partial foam, but mostly horsehair. Okay, so what does that mean? That means when you get some moisture on them, they will distort and at times can flop around, which is what happened in the first fight with Tyson Fury. For those of you who watched maybe some Muhammad Ali fights, you'll see that his gloves were doing the same, because he used to wear some gloves at times with horsehair. Commissions around the world, not all commissions accept horsehair padded gloves, but Las Vegas do, Los Angeles do, or California State Athletic Commission, I should call it. They do accept horsehair. Okay, so Fury, he wore Everlast MX gloves with horsehair in the first fight, and in the third fight, Deontay Wilder wore the exact same gloves. Now, for the Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder Glovegate conspiracy theorists out there, they say, well, Fury's gloves flopped around in the first fight, Wilder's didn't, so that proves that Wilder didn't tamper with his gloves in the third fight, Fury did in the first one. No, okay, that's not how it is. Now, the reason being is because all fighters will hold their hand differently inside a glove. Some fighters sweat more than others. Some fighters take in more water when they're sat on the stool. They get water poured over their head, over their arms to cool them down. And of course, they will seep into the gloves. But it's how you hold the gloves as well. Okay, Tyson Fury always holds the gloves very, very loosely. He doesn't walk around the fight in the stance with his fist clenched. He doesn't. Many of you will know, who's been watching Tyson Fury since day one, when he throws a jab, for a lot of time, he flicks it. He flicks the jab. That's what he does. He just flicks it. Wilder, his fists inside gloves are always tensed up. He's always got a closed fist. Okay, that's what he does. Okay, so that'll be why there's a huge difference between them. Okay, because if you're always clenching your fist, well, they're not going to go anywhere. But if you open up your hand and sometimes use it as a slapping motion or like a flip of the fingers towards the fighter, it's going to distort. It used to happen with Muhammad Ali. It's happened with quite a few fighters, because it happened with Tyson Fury in the first fight. But just because Deontay Wilder wore the same brand, Everlast MX gloves, and his didn't distort, is not proof that Tyson Fury cheated in the first fight. But as I said, there's going to be some conspiracy theorists out there who will use that as some kind of proof. It's not proof at all. None whatsoever. Many fighters have used Everlast MX gloves or horsehair-filled gloves, and it hasn't happened. Quite a few fighters have used them, and it has happened. Okay? It's all to do with sweat. It's all to do with moisture. Don't believe me? Next time you get your hair cut, put it in the sink, pour a little bit of water on it, even just a drop. See what happens. It'll distort. It'll get matted up, right? This is what happens. Okay? So anyway, I'm just getting the news out there for you, just to nip it in the bud before it runs anywhere, but also to give you guys information that the gloves Wilder wore in the third fight are the same gloves that Tyson Fury wore in the first fight, just different colour. Okay? Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you on the next video.
I'm really happy to be back in Newcastle. I don't know, knockout, assassin.